This is something I learned with time, with maturity and experience. You don't have to be aggressive to be successful.
One of UAE's most senior Emirati female bankers, regional head of global subsidiaries, Shada Elborno.
Titles, they don't speak to who we are really. Everyone looks up to get that care, to get that respect, to get that guidance.
I know lots of people who are fabulously wealthy and miserable and angry and annoyed at the world.
These things happen because every day, again, your emotions are very volatile. They'll change. Some days you'll feel like, I love this place. And some days if you walk and you're like, oh, I can't take this.
Founders, business owners who will get to a point where they may need to approach Netbank for different reasons, how to approach in a way that can lead to something that's beneficial for both parties.
So one example that quickly comes to mind is...
So before we jump into today's show, a word from us at Open Equity, where we back founder-led companies to build, scale, and exit successfully. It's really the private equity firm that I wish I'd had when I built my first business. And we have a wealth of resources that are designed to support you on your journey wherever you are right now. So if you are at the point where you've built the business to a certain size and you're now looking for a partner, you can also apply to book in a call with us and see if we are the right partner to help you scale and exit our IPO successfully. And on with the show. Shada, it's an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show. And I really appreciate you making the time to do this.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be here and try this out.
Yeah, well, really excited. And one of the conversations we were talking about before was about kind of value-based leadership or having humanity and how you bring that into leadership. And I was saying beforehand, thinking about all the people I know and all the people I've met who embody that. And so I would love to start there is, how do you think about leadership and how do you think about bringing some soul and humanity into being a leader?
It's a way of living for me. I'm the eldest of three and the only girl. So I grew up always being a little leader in my own right and little world, being very caring.
Are you the oldest of the three?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So it started there, being caring, responsible, always there for everyone. And I carried that with me, whether throughout school, college, and today, every day at work. Very mindful that I align everything that I do together, how I speak, how I act, how present I am, both in the good and testing times. So not like showing different faces, etc. And my guiding principles have been my values. Some of the ones that are really core to me are things like humility, empathy, resilience, patience. And at the core of it all is kindness. I feel like it's my superpower. And it just guides the way I show up every day in life.
Well, thank you for that. And I think it's very evident whenever I, even in the time we interacted before and now sitting down, even I feel calmer now being around and having this conversation. So, and of course, in an industry, in banking, where there is a kind of a caricature or a view of both leadership and the culture that you see in banking, that is really being a trailblazer in that. And how do you manage to cultivate and also protect that in an environment where there's lots of pressures and lots of other forces at play beyond kindness and humility and things?
It starts with self-acceptance. When you're self-aware, you know what you're really good at and what you need to work on. And you become very comfortable with that because we're all human at the end of the day. You want to normalize how you feel, how sure you are about certain things, unsure, don't know how to get certain things done, or you're very confident how to get things done. So this is something I learned with time, with maturity and experience, to be comfortable with that. But it took me experiencing life the way I did personally, professionally, to be able to speak to you a lot more like eloquently and confidently about it. Of course, when you start out at the beginning of your career, all these emotions, again, it takes you time and experience to be able to balance them and know how to use them. And you're not alone, right? So you observe certain behavior around you, certain reactions, certain things happening. And if you have that good and sound judgment and self-awareness that I spoke about, you start realizing the wrong and the bad and which path you want to go down under and which side you want to be around. And for me, honestly, Tom, it just worked to be who I am and work the way I like, which is very mindful of everyone around me, very caring, inclusive, just bringing everyone around the table and so forth. And it garnered exactly what I like, which is respect, teamwork, collaboration, and so forth. And I just found out along the way, it's been now 29 years, that it works. You don't have to be aggressive to be successful. And at the end of the day, by the way, leadership and positions of like power or authority, they're just names, like titles. They don't speak to who we are really. Because what's the point of being in those positions and being, unkind? And everyone looks up to get that care, to get that respect, to get that guidance. So you try to be who you want to see from the other side. And for me, having started many years ago, in the early 90s, being an Emirati female, there were not so many role models. So it gave me that opportunity and space to be the role model I want to see. Of course, one of the things that I had to dismantle and defy and work around, was to defy the stereotype that as nationals or being part of the region, which is very privileged, wealthy nations, that, you didn't have to work. You didn't have to work as hard. Opportunities were served. So you felt like all the time you had to work 2-3 times harder in order to prove and earn people's respect and trust. And you do that nicely, cordially, with care and kindness.
Well, I appreciate that. And were there some pivotal moments? Because I appreciate now, in the position that you are now, with the the leadership, the power of influence, and so on. Looking back, it may be kind of obvious in hindsight, but there must have been some pivotal moments along the way where either that defined your career or enabled you to embody that kind of leadership. Were there some particular moments where they really stand out in the career?
It's almost 3 decades.
Yeah.
So you'd find like there were so many like intervals.
So it's very much like a hero's journey of kind of early, mid, but I'd love to talk about some of those.
So I would sort of like maybe split it kind of like by decades. So like literally 3 phases. At the outset, it's all about learning and learning purposefully. Rolling up your sleeves, getting down into the weeds of things.
Sorry, did you come in on like a graduate scheme or a thing? Okay, so you came in as a graduate scheme, and please carry on.
So I did my undergrad in Switzerland. I majored in accounting and finance. I was good in numbers, and my father's advice was, okay, it's either banking, engineering, or med.
Yeah, okay, good father advice. Yeah,
I chose banking because I saw banking is all about people, trust, responsibility, and so forth. And so it aligned very nicely with me. And this is how I work with it now every day, because I use it as a platform to make impact, not only with my colleagues and people around me, but literally with clients, with corporates, and the societies and countries that we operate in. And so this is how it all started, like learning how can I be purposeful, how can I be intentful in how I work. Every job and task that I took, and this is what I tell newcomers and graduates in colleges, that you have to come in and roll up your sleeves. You're never too big or too senior to one, say you don't know how to do something, or to get into details of things. So everything that you do it with that curiosity, even when it's copying, even when it's filing, even when it's get into it, read the papers, understand, try to make a little impact even in your own corner and zone. As you move along, it starts becoming about, okay, how do I lead and lift those around me? Because at some point when I started growing and being recognized and given responsibilities to lead peoples and business, I was of that mindset that I had to know it all, have it all, take care of everyone. Don't worry, Shada's in the house. You're all sorted.
And all the work then goes, all the work then goes to you. And yeah.
I was just too shy, too hesitant to admit I didn't know something, I didn't understand something, but it was unsustainable. When I started seeing ideas from my team members and my eyes was opening up and like I was having all those aha moments, I'm like, okay, I need to start leaning on those people, bringing them along with me, right? And giving them that opportunity not to only have a seat at the table, but ensure that their voices are heard and included with me. And then it becomes like a win-win for both of us. So it's no longer about being bossy and authoritative, but again, it's being caring, mindful, showing presence, trust, and so forth. And then you start working with each other in a very complementary manner, and it's a win-win for everyone. And now I'm at a phase where it's all about, okay, what's the legacy I want to leave behind? Who are the people that, want to look back and say, I've had a helping hand in their career progression and their educational attainment, further education attainment, or them reaching their aspirations. So I became a lot more intentful about going out and doing that. And again, forums like these or platforms like these is not speaking just for the sake of speaking, because I always tell people, use your voice thoughtfully. But, what are you trying to tell people? What do you want them to hear or learn that you think hopefully can benefit them?
And what are some of those things that you would have liked to have known or learned, perhaps if you rewind to the graduate or the just entering into banking? What are some of those things?
I always say that I wish I had that conviction that I should enjoy the journey. I was always in a rush to prove myself over and over again. So I showed up every day. I worked hard every day. I did everything I was told every day, no regrets whatsoever, because I just learned. And the only way is the long and hard way. So shortcuts don't work in life. And if they do, it's only for the short term. So I wish I enjoyed the journey. And I learned that. So I think the really pivotal moment was when I turned 25 in the bank, and I was like, oh my God, 25 years. Who am I? What have I really done for Shada other than like the bank and clients or colleagues? And one of the things that hit me hard, and again, it's not like it really exclusive here, but I speak about it a lot because it really impacted me. It's one of the things that I carry to heart a lot. Is I felt I cared deeply, I knew a lot, I wanted to share it. I didn't have people like necessarily so many sharing or showing or guiding. How can I do that? I didn't have courage and confidence. Those are few things that I didn't know how you work on them.
Okay, yeah.
Whether they're there and you work on bringing them up or, so I sought sort of guidance myself, because no one knows you better than you and no one will help you other than you. Very rare it happens, I feel. So coaching, reading about confidence and courage, reading about stage fright, public speaking. And I found that it's so universal, right? And the only way to learn to do something is to do it. And I started putting myself like out there, speaking on panels, going in small circles, speaking to students, etc., to just talk about my journey as I've experienced it. And it's been very rewarding for me, because I just feel like hopefully seeing is believing, as Standard Chartered says it best, that someone will look there, not just necessarily women, any human out there that feels like this resonates with me or sounds familiar, that it's a helping hand for them somehow, like a guiding book to look back at.
That's really interesting. And have you learned, because that core thing, I think I remember when I was much younger reading a lot of, How to Win Friends and Influence People and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and a lot of, and I think there's Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway and a few of those things.
Yes.
And what did you learn in that? What did you learn from that period of coaching and self-discovery that you've really put into practice, or is it such a multifaceted thing?
It has been very multifaceted. It was a lot of trial and error, right? I noticed that every single time, self-doubt and fear was there. But at the other end of it, when I finished what I set myself out to do, there was something nice after the finish line. And I just learned or, developed this real, again, conviction and belief that just stay true to who you are. You don't have to invent and put this, different image that again, you have it all and you've got it all under control or anything. Just show up as you are. Stay grounded in your values, but speak about the important things, which is acquiring new skills, learning, because the landscape around us keeps shifting. So yes, you have to remain grounded and rooted in your values, but you can't stay in your comfortable zone for long because you'll end up missing out. And if you look at my career trajectory, again, it was that I kept, working on myself, learning new skills, definitely performing, etc., but then looking for the next opportunity and just giving it a try and see. And progress, again, I wasn't so fixated on like vertical climbs or titles or like promotions, anything new and additional that will add value to me or where I can add value, I went ahead and grabbed it.
That's really interesting. And did you find in doing that actually the titles came? Because I found in my case, I probably had periods when you get quite attached, maybe materialistically or to an outcome, and that's almost been a bottleneck. But then when I've lost all caring or attachment, then suddenly that's when you get the breakthrough, or that's when the thing, and it was.
Yeah, I think it kind of happens like that, and also it's all about mindset perspective. So everyone thinks like, oh, the organization must be amazing. Not all organizations, they're neither good or bad. They have the good, bad, and ugly. Yeah. You have your nice days and you have your not so nice days, but that's life in general. It's, again, just going through that experience of life, gaining that grit, that perspective, that mindset, seeing what you like, what you don't like, what you respect, what you don't. And then for me, it's again, okay, fine, I'm fixated about titles, but the title doesn't make the person at all. I am not who I am today because I'm an MD. I am who I am because of so many things. One, of course, God's blessing, my parents' upbringing, and that's, those values that they instilled in me, and me, again, just liking me. I'm saying it here. So yeah, the title, not so crazy about it anymore. Only because also I don't see necessarily the best, not only about accomplishments, because even success and accomplishments, it's a very personal thing. It's how you assess it, that they're kind of, with all due respect, the best people. So when I look for role models, I look for those whose values and principles align to mine and say, yes, regardless of their title, can be from the most junior and from the most sort of, any person on the road that you see a certain behavior and how they act, you're like, wow, this is respectful. I command that. And a title doesn't bestow that upon you.
And moving from value-based leadership and how you've approached that, and you're more now into kind of value-based investing or value-based capital allocation, how have you thought about as someone who's involved in and helping facilitate transactions and investments and so on, how do you bring that into being an investor or into supporting investments?
It's to a great extent, it's everything that we're about also as a bank and bankers. Banking started because it's all about trust. People went there because they trusted that, the money will be used and the capital, it will go and benefit everyone. So if you look at this region here, I always believe that where capital flows, change will happen. So even in this part of the world, if you think about it, everything that you do to support not just finance projects, but you're actually helping nations grow, develop, prosper, creating jobs for its people, enabling innovation, helping small businesses and helping them become a lot more durable economies and societies and very future-proof and ready. And that's what essentially it's all about, right? Yes, the commercials, of course, make sense. But again, if you don't just stay so fixated on that and focus on the value and intent, the impacts are far, far bigger.
It's something I love about the region. I mean, I think it's what I certainly but both having experience in the UAE and in Saudi and more broadly into the region, of that value-based mindset. I was used to maybe the US or UK, where it's very transactional, and banking and private equity was all about making money and etc. Whereas what I've loved, both in terms of how to build relationships, because it's very much you build the relationship first before you talk about business, 100%. But also in terms of doing deals, the emphasis has been way more on how can this create jobs, how can this build local industry, how can this contribute to a mission, which I love. And I think is it always been that way? Do you think it's because it just feels like such a culture that we should really see how we can export that more globally in banking?
I feel like 100% what you said. This region is very relationship-based.
And it's very unique in that case. I think it's brilliant. Yes, it's fantastic. It's something I've fallen in love with.
And if you look back, the UAE specifically also has been the best role model and example of, yes, you can dream big and you have great ambitions, but you can stay rooted again and core to who you really are. And it shows how everything can coexist in harmony. Innovation, diversity, whether it's people, businesses, different industries, heritage, but also that, fast forward and all these innovative projects. And when I look back, I feel like maybe we were doing it sort of like by default because it was very true to who the country is and how people around it wanted to work. But if you think about it, it's quite unique to this part of the world. And so when people think sustainability, they think future generation doing what's right, but it's always been the case here. It's always been the case.
And how do you maintain that route? Because I think not to get political or to talk about other regions and so on, but I think there's temptations maybe to do something the fast way, or the temptation maybe to over leverage, or temptation to do whatever. But how can we maintain that conviction and that value based, mission focused investing, and avoid some of the temptations of excess capitalism or so on, which has been rife in other parts?
No matter what, even as organizations, even if you have your global strategy. When it comes down to regions and countries, you cannot work in isolation from the national visions and strategies, right? Like a bank like ours in 53 markets, your USP becomes that inclusivity, you being very inclusive of very diverse cultures, perspectives, and markets. You have to start factoring it in locally and aligning to it, else you'll miss out.
Dubai-based business owners, do you want to scale? If so, if you want to build your business towards a successful exit in the next 12 to 36 months, then this is for you, because right below, we have got an offer from us at Open Equity to speak to more Dubai-based business owners running established companies. We're going to jump on a call and we're going to walk you through an exact and specific plan to take your business to the next level, to help you scale and get exit ready, or get IPO ready if that's what you want to do. We'll make it super practical, super actionable. And in fact, at the end of the call, we'll also tell you how in an afternoon you can find the next million in your business without doing anything new or different. And within 12 months, how you can then accelerate your success towards that big exit or outcome that you desire and you deserve. Let's be honest, you're not in Dubai to play it small, so book in a call with us and let's help you build big and secure that exit that you desire and you deserve. And the personal responsibility, because it's something that I've noticed personally as we get involved in larger and larger transactions and so on, the numbers get bigger, the number of people impacted get bigger and so on. And I find that could be quite intimidating. I was asked a bit about that before. How have you dealt with that? And how do you think about that responsibility of as these things get larger and larger as responsibility scales?
It's very, very
quite daunting.
Very daunting. Very daunting. And you start feeling really the weight of the shoulder on your life. But then it motivates me and makes me want to be a lot more responsible, a lot more thoughtful with my responsibility and with the trust. And when you see the impact, because, every account we open, every client or business that you fund or you support, every project that you're a part of, I just look at like a dream, an ambition, and a story that you help fulfill and you help support. So definitely, again, you support that you support these economies, you support this progression in societies, but you also benefit from it, and you benefit your people, your staff, your organization, and so forth. So it keeps you going. And when you see that alignment, and again, that, you are staying true to who you are by doing what you're doing, it gets easier, I guess, because then you don't have to impersonate or be someone different.
And there's some way, because do you get the feedback? Because I know sometimes it can feel like, one can feel like you're in an office, maybe you're looking at screens and so on. But actually, there are some examples where you've got the feedback of, we funded this, or we got involved in this, and actually now the ripple effect is this incredible thing's happened, or this region's transformed,
yes,
what are some examples of those?
I mean, there are specific deals, of course, and projects that we have been part of in various countries in the region, supporting infrastructure, power, access to, water and electricity and things like that. Yes. And of course, you start, again, putting them out there so that people can see the impact you're creating and making. Then you start, and this is where, as an organization, if you start paying attention to doing that, to show that you're values-based, you're purposeful, you become a long-term partner for the societies and countries that you're working in, but also for your staff, for your clients, for your people, because they see that you're in there, you're in there for the long term, and they see the value that you're helping them create and helping societies and economies also create.
And are there some particular focus areas now that you're really passionate about, that are kind of the hot topics that are looking to invest in, or are invested in?
Supporting. So the portfolio, again, because I manage the multinationals, the corporates, how we work with our product specialists from corporate finance, from project finance, even from transaction banking, helping clients with their cash and trade business. It becomes very interesting with the world that where it is today, with technology and advancements, that ability to innovate and be creative and always come up with a solution to support them. So that diversity of products and ability to serve clients makes it, very, very interesting. And also being in this region, because it's one of the regions that's doing fairly well, given how the globe is doing. There's opportunity for growth, for prosperity, and for doing good things and be part of those good things.
And what do you notice because you've got such a broad perspective across your portfolio? Maybe if you look at what was being invested in maybe 10 years ago to now, what is the things that people are pouring into? What do you see when you look across that broad perspective of, it must be, have such a perspective on where capital is being allocated, and so what the next 3 to 5 years might look like based on where that flow of capital and focus is going on?
You're seeing a lot of, again, if you look at the region here, it has to be aligned to their visions and strategies. So the industries where they see their futures going to be. So again, it depends where the different countries are in terms of growth and progress, what they've already have well established and already invested in, and then in line with their visions and strategies, what are the sectors that they're looking at, and accordingly they look at the regions that will help nurture or will help deliver those investment opportunities for them, and invest in that, be it Africa, be it Asia, even going all to the West. So it depends from industry to industry, where they see the strength and where they too can add value to the receiving country. So it's a two-way thing.
That's really interesting. And going to moving, it was a topic I wanted to talk to you about, but I was trying to work out the best way to do it, because it's kind of, I think, an obvious thing to talk about, because you're such a successful female leader in the region. And I'd be really curious to get your perspective on, because you talked a lot about the values that you brought into it, and as well kind of blazing a new trail in terms of a caricature perhaps of banking leadership. But Was that something that you always thought about? Did you feel a weight of responsibility as a female? Is that something that now, because you've had such an illustrious career, you now can think, actually, I'm I now want to create this legacy and this impact. But I'd be curious just to hear your perspective on being such a prominent female leader in banking in the region.
يعني I didn't يعني as I was going along, to be quite honest, I never thought about like success and being
So it's
the
not something you kind of
spotlight
pause on and think of, like, how can I be a really effective? You just go through it.
Yeah,
don't you?
just kind of get into it. And for me, really, truly, I think it was Paul Coelho who said, like, success is being able to go to bed at night and feeling like, really giving it your best and that you're at peace with yourself. So as long as I can do that, I feel like I've done my job, to be quite honest. Yes, of course, if you see a title and it means something to someone, to see a female or someone that kind of looks like them, again, up there who made it, why not? And that helps someone and they aspire for it. On the contrary, I will support it. But I just kind of went on in life, literally.
And day by day, and
yes,
it
day
snowballs.
by day, trying my best to be a good human, to, be very humane and just deal with life and people with humility and empathy and just doing good things and just trying to be simply happy.
I feel that's a great lesson, because that's you talked earlier about the hard way is the only way, and avoiding shortcuts. And I feel like that's because I meet so many, particularly when I meet younger entrepreneurs, they're always looking for a hack or a secret or a trick or something. And it's quite depressing, I have to say to them, actually, you just work really hard for a long period of time.
You have to. I know they don't like
and
to
you,
hear it,
and you probably...
But it is. I don't think it means that they're any less ambitious or driven or anything like that. But sooner or later, they'll get there. There's one famous guy who said, slowly is the fastest way to get to where you want to be. Yeah. So just enjoy, learn and grow. Doesn't mean you stall. Again, and you have to be very clean. Everything, take it in moderation. We're not encouraging that, but, one step at a time.
And I also think something that I always find, everyone's in such a rush, and also they may jump from career to career to career, or jump from company to company to company. Whereas you're an example of someone who's built a fantastic career in one organization that's had a global impact and and that patience, and I imagine that must be trying at times to think, how do I, I'm going to stay firm and stay at this place. And I think that's I'd love to hear more about that, of thinking about having that commitment and that conviction to one organization in a career, versus people often run around and do all sorts of things and don't make it anywhere.
Yeah, because the organization is also quite unique, given its presence, given the way it also kept evolving. So it kept things fresh and different. And with that came opportunity. So I took it that way. And being female and Emirati, especially in like corporate or corporate investment banking, was quite unique. And doing the roles that I did in an international bank, also being in the private sector, was quite unique. And I liked that. I liked being different. I liked the concept of paving the way, so that, again, you set an example and show a possibility for someone else. And with time, with maturity, with growth, with lots of support and advice from my parents, my father especially, and you just have to put through it. At the outset, I used to think it was like, my God, like, just stand by me once. Tell me, like, to get off there. But I just feel like you have to look, just like you look fear in the eyes, you look at challenges in the eyes. And, there are different ways to go around them. And that's what gets better with time and with experience, how you deal with them. Your perspective, your approach becomes a lot more refined. You become hopefully a lot less vulnerable, a lot less emotional. You're a lot more in command and control of how you respond to situations, not react to them. And in essence, again, I feel like, honestly, nothing is like really personal in the workplace. It's just people have different approaches and styles of working. And I say that part of the essence of diversity and inclusion actually is to learn to deal with the good, bad, and ugly. So this is kind of like how I started looking at it. Now I know to deal with all colors of people, all situations of life and so forth. And it's true what they say, that the grass is greener where you water it. So it's all about perspective and mindset. You can be the richest, have the, best title, the best job, etc., and still be not content and not grateful.
I know lots of people like that. I know lots of people who are, fabulously wealthy and miserable and angry and annoyed at the world and things like that. Yeah.
And these things happen because every day, again, your emotions are very volatile. They'll change. Some days you'll feel like, okay, I love this place. And some days if you walk and you're like, oh, I can't take this. And I allow myself to see, but you have to be mindful that when you're in that position of leadership, you're on the watch all the time. So even me being authentic and real means you don't put all your cards out there. Or when you want to show feelings or share stuff, you share stuff that is shareable, that is really worth sharing, right? You saw that. And you learn with time and experience how to be in command and control of how you appear, how you show up. Back to my point, that's what leadership is. You stay true, how you speak, how you act, how you respond, and especially in testing times, to show that steadiness, that grit, and that you're there for people. Because then it becomes all about the people around you, that presence, that consistency and wanting to listen and making sure people are being heard, being empathetic and understanding. Because again, when organizations evolve and change and these things happen, right? And the landscape around you also changes. You have tensions. Not everyone knows how to deal with it the way you do. So you have to start adapting your style also to that. It takes grit, patience, maturity, a little bit of wisdom, I hope.
But there must have been some moments where you thought, this is so testing, actually I'm going to leave and do something else, or I'm going to do something else. Or have you...
every other day. Okay. I feel that's, honestly, and I'll be kidding myself if every other day, for one reason or the other, not necessarily all of it is work stuff. Sometimes it's like you're having a bad day. You literally wake up on the wrong side of bed. Yeah. You're just tired. You're exhausted. You didn't take leave. You've been working hard. So sometimes you're like, oh my God, what am I doing this for? Right. And then...
How do you work through that? Because I think what I really admire is I think everything in life is kind of compound returns in many things, and things take, whether it's relationships or businesses or careers, take, like you said, many decades to really show fruition. But I meet a lot of people who cut themselves off because when it gets difficult, they leave or they go and do something else versus how you, clearly.
I feel like I thrive on challenges.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then also, I try different things to help me cool off or get my mind off of things. It can be reading. It can be just a quiet time. As I'm getting older again, my ability and my energy to go out and stuff I feel like it's going down. So sometimes just resting, reading a book, or just enjoying a moment of silence at home, or then coming back home and, getting the download from both my parents on how their day was, because they want care. They want someone to listen to. They want to be validated. And then you look at things around you I'm still better off than so many people. So why am I cribbing and crying about? And I look at all the blessings that I have, so it's perspective. So it's different things. I work out, go to the beach, go out with friends.
No, I think
those are helping.
A great timeless lesson. It's perspective, gratitude. Again, it seems to come very much down to those being rooted in those values.
And also having family, faith, good friends. Those are very important things to have around you, and make sure that all of it is again, real and good.
And what do you see as kind of a question that I was asked earlier actually about is switching off and having balance and all those things. And I think it's particularly, I find, and opportunities must be thrown at you to do a million different things. And how do you balance seizing opportunities and having this amazing career versus also having a bit of balance and having some time off and, nurturing relationships and well-being and all of those kinds of things. I mean, I think it's just, I don't know if it's an impossibility of life, but how do you see it?
It's tough because I feel again, this is another kind of commitment or expectation that I have to uphold myself to, which is like work-life balance. I feel like it's another, oh my God, am I balanced? Am I, those things.
Yeah.
So I stopped thinking of it like that. So there are some weeks or maybe some days where, I'm going to have to work like really hard. And then some days where around 5, okay, I have nothing. Why don't I go home and have dinner with the family on time? And so I just allow myself to.
It's all life. I mean,
yes.
I feel like that's quite.
Yes. Because if I still like sit and get fixated, I haven't rested, I haven't slept, I haven't done work, I'm working too much.
Yeah.
Then I feel like.
Or then the reverse happens, and you're like, I'm resting too much. I'm being lazy. I'm not being productive. Yeah.
So when the email traffic starts reducing, I keep sending myself test.
It's still working. Is anyone talking to me? What's happened? Yeah.
What's happened? Etc. So I just take it as it comes, because sometimes it just gets too much to have so many things, as I said, to uphold yourself to. And I think like, social media, etc., just continues to probably it has its benefits, but if you don't use it in moderation and listen to it and, follow it in moderation, and if you don't have that grit in your ability to judge what's right, what's wrong, what's really important, what's not, it can be very exhausting. It becomes another sort of, I'm not sure what to say, like you get down that path and it becomes very, very difficult, because then you have all these unrealistic comparisons that you have to keep making. Because more often than not, I just feel like a lot of what's out there continues to make us feel inadequate. Our life is incomplete. You need these.
Yeah, so you look through a rectangle and you see only happy, supposedly happy, successful, well, and all of these things.
Yes.
And it can be very, having a conversation earlier, it can be very easy to lose all sight of perspective, as that's 100%. Not real life. No one's like that.
It's amazing, because one of the things that I find that I love is that I feel like sometimes messages like from God and the universe come through me to a song lyric or something, a reel that I see, or like a line in a book that they're able to articulate a thought or a feeling that I have, or an experience and how I feel, and it's perfectly. That I like. And I seize the moment. I'm like, aha. And sometimes they help trigger my urge to write something about it because of the feeling that they triggered or the thought that they reminded me of. So definitely it has its pluses. But again, I'm, anything in life, I say, whether food, drinks, sports, has to be used in a very balanced way.
And to change tack actually quite a lot, but I know it's something that folks in my audience will be interested in, is there's a lot of founders, business owners who will get to a point where they may need to approach an investment bank for different reasons. And that can feel like quite an intimidating process. And I was just kind of curious, I know it's quite a practical question, but what advice would you give to founders, business owners about, first of all, when might they approach, and also how to approach in a way that can lead to something that's beneficial for both parties?
Asking for things like help or approaching, there's no such thing as a silly question. The worst thing that will happen is someone say, sorry, this is not something that we do or look at. But perhaps it could be an opportunity for us to show something to another client. So
amazing. I mean, I remember the first time, I think it was in my 20s, and approaching investment banks, it did seem like a very intimidating thing, because we were looking to build through acquisition and looking for some support and financing. And then actually I met a few investment bankers, and it really wasn't, and they were really supportive and really friendly and really nice. And actually probably it was my error of having a caricature in my head, maybe created by films. Actually, the investment bank was super supportive, and I guess, would you say the doors open actually to people and ideas?
Yeah, I mean, for anyone, I feel the world has become a lot more open. People want to listen to new ideas and opportunities. Gone are the days where you just deal or are satisfied with what you have. I think after, like the pandemic, when it happened, I think that was a triggering point where, when it comes to a sector like banking, you started seeing the fintechs, and, they really give you like a run, and started making us think a lot more innovatively, creatively. And then you see, interestingly, a lot of benefit in tying up with them and joining forces, back to my point of collaboration instead of competing, and to, what's in it for us? How can we, instead of having to reinvent something, see, they've tried and tested this, perhaps it can suit us. So people are a lot more open now to ideas. And these founders, our entrepreneurs, are coming up with really out-of-the-box concepts and ideas that can prove to be very worthwhile. On the contrary, I feel like if you close yourself to them, you end up losing a lot.
And and for the next, let's say 5-10 years, you mentioned how you reflected after 25 years on a point about, but what are you excited about, or what are you looking forward to, or what is next over the next 5-10 years, perhaps for you personally and career-wise?
Probably, now you start, clearing the pathways and opening the door a little bit for people to start coming, right? You want to leave that legacy so that you see people who work with you around you also start making progress and taking bigger responsibilities, so that you hand sort of the torch. Because again, you feel like you're in a race, and like when you carry the baton, they call it a relay race. So now someone's there behind you, you give them that. I think mentorship is something that, through a platform like this or other more exclusive platforms, is again about seeing potential in people and speaking for them. And advocating for them. So it's not just about words and just writing stuff, it's about doing. Carrying also the legacy of the UAE, which is one of vision and possibility. I'm quite open. I don't know how much longer I can be like a banker or in banking. It's something to see. But yeah, I'm also open about like possibilities. Maybe break, I don't know, maybe going back to school and doing law, because I wanted to be a lawyer before being a banker at some point. And again, because I'm all about the people.
Well, I think law is a great one, because in a sense, it's a little bit like the purity of it is in actually standing up for people who need support. And I think I've found, as I get older, I can see the appeal of it. I think when you gain a bit of confidence and think, actually, I would like to stand up for those people who don't have the ability to stand up for themselves or need some support or so on. So I can understand that.
Open door policy for me. It's a whiteboard. I'm curious also about what the future holds. So I embrace opportunities as they come. And they say opportunities whisper, so you always have to be prepared.
I really like what you said about the kind of, I often say the universe is speaking, or the universe is vibrating, or something.
Yes. When you open yourself to it, it's amazing how everything starts like working together once you open yourself up.
And sometimes it can seem quite strange. I can't mention the project, but there's a project we're working on now where it has been weirdly cosmic how things have lined up and doors have opened at the right time.
It's amazing.
And it's
really. Thomas, I feel like so many times when I'm down, or, I was hard-headed about a certain opportunity or a certain idea and it didn't work out, that God proves me wrong in the best way possible, because whatever I end up with or wherever I end up, whoever I meet, is always the best thing that's ever happened to me. So that's why that faithfulness is very important, and it's been my guiding force.
And you mentioned before that 7's your favorite number, and there was a seven pieces of advice that you were given to students. Do you remember what those were for sharing with?
One of them is be passionate but be patient.
Okay.
Be kind, for sure. School of life never ends. Take people with you always. So always be very inclusive as you rise. Be human and humane, I think, is some of and it's along those lines. These are some of the things I speak about. And then I say bravery is not the absence of fear. So even a voice like fear and doubtfulness wants to be validated. And it's there. So again, I always say, if you think self-doubt's going to leave you, you're wrong. It's here to stay. So just acknowledge its presence, listen to it, and, move forward. So these are some of the things that I always speak about.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for the conversation. I really, really enjoyed it. I really appreciate you sharing the wisdom. And thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
So I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. And if you did, then you should get on our list, because we will be sharing exclusive behind the scenes. We'll be sharing more content, more materials. We'll also be sharing who are the upcoming guests, so you can prepare for that. You can ask questions and you can really start to be part of a community. Head below, click the link, join the list, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.